First, toss in some dry yeast, about 1½ teaspoons. Then grab the sugar and mix in 3 spoonfuls with the yeast. Sugar not only adds sweetness, but it also fuels the yeast, helping it grow and make dough rise. Now crack an egg and mix it into the yeast and sugar. And make sure it's chilling at room temp, not fresh out of the fridge. Take 2/3 cup of milk and pour it into the mix. The milk should be warm. Too hot and it'll kill the yeast. Too cold and it won't activate it properly. I let the mixture sit for a bit, and 5 minutes later, it looks like this. Now it's time to add the flour. You'll need 3 cups of it. Bread flour is best, but all-purpose flour works too. All that's left is to add ½ a teaspoon of salt, maybe even less. And now let's start kneading. I'd say stick with the spatula until you've got a nice hefty lump of dough. That's about right. Now it's time to ditch the spatula and get your hands messy. Keep kneading until the dough is more uniform. We'll need some butter at room temperature. Make sure it's nice and soft. Throw that bit into the dough. And keep on kneading it. Yep, your hands will be covered in butter and the dough will be all sticky, but hang in there. Now it's time for fun. Take the dough out of the bowl and give it a good toss until it's uniform and no longer sticky to your hands. That's so much better. Good job, 5 minutes, and you're done. Now take a clean bowl and transfer the dough into it. Cover the bowl. You will need to put it in a warm place. I prefer to leave it in the oven until it has expanded 2 to 3 times its size. Meanwhile, get the custard ready. Crack 1 whole egg in there. And for the second egg, just use the yolk. The classic way is to use only yolks, but I think mixing a whole egg with a yolk makes it taste even better. Throw in 3 spoons of sugar and a tiny pinch of salt. I'm a fan of cream that's just a little sweet, so I tossed in 3 spoonfuls. If you're into that sugar rush, go wild with 4 or even 5 spoons. Next, toss in a tablespoon of flour. I'm all about cake flour, but you can totally roll with all-purpose or cornstarch if that's what you've got. Throw in a couple of drops of vanilla extract if you're feeling fancy. Then, give it one last good stir. Alright, time to heat up some milk. Grab 2 cups of milk and pour them into your trusty saucepan. Bonus points if you don't spill any. Fire up the stove to medium heat. When you see the first tiny bubbles making their grand entrance, you're good. No need to boil it. Gently pour that hot milk in, nice and slow. And don't forget to whisk it like a pro. We need to pour this mixture back into the pot. But first, make sure the pot is totally clean. You can either wash it or grab a different one. Now take the mixture and pour it into the pot. Keep stirring the mixture non-stop while cooking it on low heat. It'll start to thicken up slowly. Cook it until it's got that pudding-like vibe, but make sure it doesn't boil. Pour the custard into a separate container, ideally one that's been chilling in the freezer to cool things down quickly. Cover tightly with cling film. It helps prevent a skin from forming on the surface as it cools. Let it cool a bit and then pop it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. Alright, time to wrangle that dough. It's grown like it's on steroids. We need to deflate it a bit. Let's give it a good, hearty squeeze to let some of that extra puffiness out. It'll be back to its cozy, manageable self in no time. Okay, so now we're breaking down the dough into smaller chunks. I usually cut mine into 8 pieces. If you've got a scale handy, it's super handy here. Each piece should be roughly 75 grams. Next, shape those pieces into dough balls. Press and shape the dough with your fingers. Then gently roll it between your palms to form a round shape. If you're aiming for that classic donut-style hole in the middle, grab a pastry bag nozzle. If you don't have one, you can poke a hole with your finger or skip the hole entirely. It'll make filling with custard even easier. Stick the donuts on a baking sheet. I'm going to show you 2 ways to prep them, so just use half of the donuts for now. Cover them with plastic wrap or a paper towel and let them sit for 20 minutes to rise. Do the same with the other 4 donuts. In the meantime, let's wrap up the custard. Dump in half a cup of heavy cream. And start whipping it on low speed. Toss in a spoonful of sugar, then slowly crank up the speed until you're at full throttle. Cream is whipped when it's fluffy, holds soft peaks, and has thickened up. All right, time to rescue this custard from its chilly prison. It's gone from wobbly jelly to a solid little block of awesomeness. Dump the custard into the whipped cream. It's great on its own, but even better together. Now mix it all up good. I use a mixer, but you can totally do it by hand if you want. It's not too tough. Honestly, I couldn't resist eating that spoonful of cream. Okay, back to the dough. It's totally risen. I'm all about topping those donuts with a coffee glaze. Way better in my opinion. I'll drop the recipe for the topping in the video description below. Pop those donuts into the preheated oven and let them bake for about 18 minutes. While some donuts are lounging in the sauna, let's fry the rest. Just fill the pan with oil up to about 1 inch. Turn the stove to low and let the oil warm up for a few minutes. Then grab those remaining donuts, they're probably super bored by now, and toss them in the oil. If you're tossing donuts in by hand, careful, the oil's hot. I've checked. One lonely donut didn't make the cut, so it's gonna have to wait its turn. I'll give it a solo frying session later. Alright, so after about 5 to 7 minutes, flip those donuts. They should turn a lovely golden brown. Just keep an eye on them. If the oil's too hot, or you leave them too long, you might end up with burnt donuts. After another 5 minutes, go ahead and take the donuts out of the pan. Pop those donuts onto a paper towel to soak up the extra oil. And then slap another paper towel on top and press to soak up more oil. Snag a donut and roll it in sugar or powdered sugar. Yeah, I know sugar isn't health food, but let's live a little. Then jam the stick into the donut to make a hole. This is where the custard will go. All right, time to add the custard. Fill up the pastry bag and get to work. If there's no pastry bag handy, just use a regular bag with a cut corner. Next, poke the edge of the pastry bag into the hole and start filling that donut with custard. Give the bag a gentle squeeze to make sure the custard fills it up nicely. I recommend waiting to eat the donuts so the custard has time to soak in. You can even make a second hole in the donuts to spread the custard around more evenly. After some time, the donuts had soaked up the cream, turning tender and bursting with flavor in every bite. Oh, I almost forgot about the donuts in the oven. I think I left them in the oven too long. They cracked a bit and puffed up so much that the hole in the middle is totally gone. But that's okay. I loaded them up with cream just like those fried donuts. But honestly, these tasted even better. The coffee topping gives it a tasty crust that goes perfectly with the soft, fluffy donut. Thanks for watching.